Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about mistakes, and not just to say it in a negative way, nor me say things and you go, oh my goodness, I've done that. I wish I hadn't. That was a nightmare. This is absolutely with no judgment here, but I do want to open up the conversation because I feel that in the last 25 years of being a freelancer, running my own gig, I have made so many mistakes, and to be honest, I haven't caught them quick enough. You might see a lot of clicking in this episode. I haven't caught them quick enough, and when I don't catch my mistakes quick enough in my business and in my life, I end up making the same mistakes again. And also I feel that becomes almost part of me, and I get sucked in by them. I get emotionally entangled with them. And actually, I don't want to do that. I want to free up my time, my energy, my bandwidth to do great, brilliant other things. So please know that when I'm saying this is not a told you so or look out for that or you've done it again. It all comes with love, with encouragement. You absolutely can do this. And hopefully you will take something away today and really sort of drop it into your next project. So the first thing I want to share today is about that project that you have maybe been offered or you're going to have a conversation about, and you're not really sure what it is. And from the other person's perspective, this project is probably on their list. They're like, right, I've really got to crack on with it. Oh my goodness, I need some people to do this. We need to fill this spot. We've got to get cracking. And so what can happen sometimes in the urgency of the person of wanting to get it sorted is that they are going at such a pace that they're not looking at the detail. They're not necessarily going into all the nitty gritty. They are focused on ticking it off their list and getting things moving and shaking. And so that means that the detail, the finer details, what's expected is on you. It's up to you. And I've learned this time and time again, especially when I've learned the same lesson again. I cannot blame anybody else. I can only blame myself, because there were certainly times where the same thing happened again and again and I just wasn't learning. So now is not about that life. I'm really acknowledging it. That doesn't mean to say that it's not tricky sometimes when you then go and make the change, but there we go. Okay, number one, the first mistake. I think that sometimes we commit too early without understanding the full extent of the brief. Now, just to throw in a bonus thing, if somebody contacts you and you get that feeling of, oh no, this is going to be hard work. I don't really want to work with that person. I don't feel like I trust them and I don't know why. I mean, the decision is up to you, but my advice quite often would be, if your instinct is loud and proud and sparkling and telling you things, it's for a reason. So pay attention to it, at least have a conversation with it where it's not just an immediate yes. You know, it might need some thinking time in that way. But the first thing I really would urge you to do is to get a full understanding of the brief. So to give you an example, if you went to look around a house and maybe you were looking to buy or you were looking to rent somewhere and you only saw the first room and was like, oh, this is great. I love this room. This feels like it's got a lot of potential. This feels brilliant. And you say yes at that point, you have no idea what is in the rest of the house. And yes, it could be more of the same. It could be all that fun stuff that you found in the living room. But it could equally, and I've been on enough Rightmove tours to know this, sometimes the first room looks lovely and then there's no back of the house. There's just the scaffolding, there's madness there. So I really urge you in the first instance to get into the nitty gritty of the full brief. I'm meaning what is expected? What is the project all about? Who are they associated with? What's the kind of time scale? Who are you going to be working with? And really go into the logistics. Because what can happen, again, speaking from my own experience, is I can be swept along in the charm of it all. That sense of we're going to do this and it's going to be great and it will be fantastic opportunity and so-and-so's involved. And yet I must still do this due diligence as to whether or not it is right for me. So if you are too quick to say yes, it doesn't mean that you have to say no to everything and just do your own thing. Far from it. But I just want you to slow down that process, almost digest the information. I'm always telling my children to slow down with their eating because they're just like, I'm so hungry. I love this. This is brilliant. So, I mean, it's not, they don't love it all the time, obviously. But yes, it's going to sit more gently. It's going to feel freer. It's going to feel less heavy if you digest it, if you take your time, if you really understand it and look at it. Number 2, this is really key here. And there's so much conversation around money and quoting for things and how much should you charge and know your worth, etc., etc., etc. But my discovery in many of these big projects is that there is always more money than you think there is. And that took me a long time to realize. And I also learned to say yes at the first figure, because sometimes that figure was so different to what I had been paid previously. I felt like I was on the weakest link, just going bank, yes, that would be great. Yeah, let's go. Before they change their mind. I had that sort of feeling. And what I have learned is to really understand my contribution, my value in this scenario, because I am not just there to be paid to be another person in the room. For example, if I was hired as a shelf stacker, for example, my job was to literally take the goods and put them on the shelves. Literally just lift them from one place to another. That is very different from you creating the products, from you designing the shelves, from maybe dealing with customer services and interviewing them and asking them what they like. It's very different from you going and doing an analysis of how many things sold and what was the most popular on the shelf and doing the market research. So I'm not saying any of those jobs are right or wrong, but it's a case that we have to acknowledge that they are different. And I often think about these things with IKEA furniture. And I remember building that IKEA kitchen. You'll probably know the one. It's about 60 quid. We bought it for our son's second birthday. We still got it. He loves it. It's, well, not him anymore. My daughter loves it now. And it's great. And I remember looking at it and saying, wow, okay, I'm going to build this. And I was in that kind of phase of like, I'm making something for my child. Look at me. I'm a carpenter. I can do all of this. And it took me about 5 hours. And then I think it took Matt maybe an additional hour after that, because I hadn't tightened things enough, because I just didn't have the strength. I needed to balance. I'm sure it was a bit wonky, all of these things. And I was thinking that if I paid for somebody, actually, if this person was able to do it within an hour, brilliant. For me, it's not about buying an hourly rate. It's about the finished product. So if somebody just went, yeah, of course, I've built like 19 of these before, I'll just come round. There is so much scope in there for looking at the way that you price things. So I want you to be generous with yourself. I want you to perhaps quote higher than maybe you're comfortable with, or maybe where you're going to negotiate to, and be willing to be in that conversation. Number 3, this is going to help your mental health and it's going to calm your nervous system. So in session 1, or point number 1, we talked about really understanding the brief from a logical point of view and from a kind of a deliverables aspect. But in point number 3, I want you to go deeper. And I want you to understand what will be required. So for example, you might work on a project and they may say, we are really happy that you've got children and we're happy to be flexible. But if they then change the goalposts and say, however, we always meet in Glasgow on a Friday, 9 till 1. And you only find this out in week 2. And maybe you're thinking, well, I don't work Fridays because I don't have childcare. And then suddenly you're in this situation where you're thinking, oh my goodness, I've now got to fly to Glasgow. And what do I do with my child? And do I do it in the day, or do I get a hotel? And then how does that work? And so I want you to ask those questions. And sometimes it's really difficult because you have to think and you only know as you go through. But I think being very open and transparent in terms of your communication is going to be golden for this. So my agent, for example, in terms of my acting work, he knows that from about 4 o'clock or 3:30, probably 3:30 till 6 o'clock, even 7, I am available. I can reply to an email. I can have a quick 5-minute conversation, but generally that's a really busy time in my day. But he does know that straight away after I put the children to bed, I can be available. I will go back in detail. I will look at a contract. I will be able to do all of those things. Or equally, before 3:30, I can do that work. Now, if I try to hide the fact that I have children and that I'm just available, I'm available anytime, then he might get slightly confused or frustrated if I can't live up to that thing of I'm always available to speak whenever. So what has resonated with you today? I would love to know. Also, if you're thinking about pitching for next year, if you're thinking about your new boundaries, maybe you're thinking about additional income streams, repackaging your services, I would love to hear from you. There is currently a very nice discount on my money services in the shop at the moment. I've rejigged my shop on my website, so you can just click on the shop element. It's really, really easy, and have a look and just feel really empowered to do things in a way that feels really good. I know there is this sense that all work should be hard work all the time, but I'm not here for that. You know, I want to have a lovely time. I want to work with great people. I don't want added stress to my life. And yeah, as my partner would always say, I just want us all to have a nice time. And I think that's a really good spot to end on. Also, if you haven't listened to any of my freebies, you can access those free courses on my website. But the shop, in terms of money, going into next year is exactly where you need to be. All right, lots of love, and I'll see you next time. Bye.